Winter is coming. Oh, wait, it's actually already here. But don't get sad, no white walkers are flooding Denver. But what is flooding to Denver is a bunch of cool things to do. So coming up in this video is a bunch of things to do in the wintertime in Denver and beyond. I have done a bunch, if not all of these things myself in previous years, and here I am delivering it over to you. First things first, Colorado trails aren't just for the summertime. A bunch are still open for the public during the wintertime, so I would suggest even going hiking in the winter. A common suggestion that I hear on the internet, and also I would suggest this as well, is bringing microspikes for your shoes to get that extra grip, because snow can melt and refreeze at night, thus making icy conditions on the trail. And speaking of icy conditions, having a 4x4 vehicle is super clutch and even necessary to go up these mountains. Now there may be some trails that are closed for the winter so it maintains the integrity of the trail. For example, Mount Falcon over in West Littleton is often closed because the mud just runs off and the footprints stay there throughout winter and even through the springtime when it really gets muddy. But also in Littleton is Waterton Canyon, a cool, mostly paved trail where you walk parallel to the South Platte River, and you can even encounter wildlife over there like bighorn sheep. And if you really want to push your body to its limits, you can even do a 14er in the wintertime, and some 14er pathways are open for the winter, like Quandary Peak, Mount Bierstadt, Mount Sherman, and Grays and Torrey's Peaks. Now these trails can be tough, especially if you're just visiting the Colorado area. Adding the element of frost, ice, and unpredictable conditions just makes it that much tougher. And if you're up for the challenge, it'll be well worth the trip. Just make sure you plan accordingly. Another one of my favorite things to do in Denver is make sure I like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on my favorite YouTube channels like this one. And if you haven't done so already, it's okay, I'll wait. Okay, cool. Let's go back to the action. So the next thing that I want to bring up here is perhaps braving the cold isn't your thing, but that's okay because I have another suggestion for you. Go enjoy some of Colorado's popular hot springs. Some hot springs are naturally formed, like Strawberry Park Natural Hot Springs, but if you want a more modern and more developed spring experience, check out Glenwood Hot Springs. Now, I know these hot springs are not necessarily within the Denver area, but it is well worth the trip. If you want to go out like a couple hours to really get that serene hot spring feel, especially with natural geothermal vents and geothermal activity, yeah, it's well worth the trip. Now, whether you decide on going to a more developed hot spring or a more natural feel to the hot springs, either way, the minerals and warm water is a great way to improve your circulation, offer relaxation, and absorb the minerals into your body and skin. And after all the holiday travels and stressors with family even, the hot springs hasn't sounded more appealing. Now going back to choosing between the developed versus more natural feel of the hot springs, it's a debated topic. And while on one hand you have something more controlled, more accessible with a developed hot spring, you also lose that touch with nature, if you know what I mean. Now on the other hand, with less developed hot springs, you get the more natural feel, the untouched by humans vibe, even though it's not completely untouched by humans. They tend to be a little less expensive too. But with that more natural feel, you have a stronger sulfur smell, which could smell like rotten eggs, and it could be off-putting for a lot of people. But for me personally, I get used to it very quickly, and I just know that these smells, these chemicals, are very natural. Now the choice is yours, but I prefer a more private, more in touch with nature feel to my hot spring experience, so I'd go with that route personally. Next up on the list, you can't forget that skiing and snowboarding is a lifestyle here in Denver, and people are waiting for those first lifts of the season to open, and unfortunately, Colorado's weather has been pretty slow to deliver. Nonetheless, we should be seeing a lot more snow coming in December, and you get to reap the benefits of fresh powder to ski and snowboard on. Something else to consider is the Icon versus Epic passes. Each have their own pros and cons, and they mainly have to do with which resorts you get access to with these passes. In this video, I'm not going to delve into the lists of resorts that each pass goes into, but it's often a topic of debate on which one is better. Personally, the main criteria to get either the Icon or Epic Pass is what your friends get. I mean, shredding the slopes isn't as fun if you're the only one there, but that's just me. I would just see what all my friends are getting and probably get that pass too. On to the next. Perhaps you have knee problems with skiing and snowboarding, and maybe it's not really your thing. And if that is the case, you should go tubing with some friends and family. Now, I'm not talking about just going to your local park and hope there's enough snow to sled or tube down. I'm talking about going to one of the legit ones. And one of those legit ones, I would highly suggest checking out Fraser Tubing Hill. It's been in the works for decades now, and it does one thing best, making sure you have a good time on the tubing routes. With the cost of the ticket, it includes a tube rental. You get about 60 to 90 minutes of tubing time, depending on the ticket. And what's even better is that you don't have to climb the top of the hill. After each run, Fraser has a lift bringing you to the top so you can just enjoy the scene in the mountains while you just get lazily dragged up the hill. It's kind of nice. So like I said, if skiing and snowboarding is not really your thing, bring out the inner kid in you and go tubing. It's family friendly, doesn't cost an arm and a leg like skiing or snowboarding does, and you don't have to rent all that gear as well. So yeah, I'd say tubing is a fine choice, especially in the wintertime here in Denver. Next on the list is another winter event everyone can enjoy, and quite frankly, I've gone to it every single year since I've lived here in Denver. In fact, it is so popular that it's now celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. Denver Botanic Gardens hosts the Blossoms of Light every holiday season, and it'll be hosting visitors until January 11th. It's a mile-long path showcasing plant collections during the winter months with over 1 million LED lights, 200-foot tunnel of color, choreographed light displays, and projections on the science pyramid. And you might be wondering, okay, it's gonna be really cold. I'm gonna have to walk outside in the winter time and the snow might be falling. What can I do to warm up? Well, there's hot cocoa, snacks, and treats sold at the main concession stand in the middle of the route. And my tip is to go right after fresh snowfall so all the lights reflect off the snow. And there's this like colorful aura amongst all the plants. Yeah, honestly, it's pretty awesome. The next event that I would suggest you check out is the Denver Bazaar Festival. And back when I first moved to Denver, it was August of 2020. In the heat of COVID, and staying 6 feet away from everyone was a thing. And I didn't have many friends coming to Denver. So I decided to try my hand at making friends by going to one of these festivals or food markets or farmers markets. It was the only way I could get FaceTime with individuals at these outdoor public farmers markets, and through them, I developed some friends after seeing the same faces week after week. I've always respected their hustle, their innovation, and the guts to start a business, especially during COVID, and I'd like to pass on that love of helping out the little guy to you. So let's talk about the Denver Bazaar Festival. It's a free event happening every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday until December 21st. Over 60 local Denver makers will be there offering gifts, decor, and holiday treats for you and your loved ones. You can also sip themed drinks at the mailroom-inspired holiday bar and enjoy live music, twinkling lights, and plenty of cheer, of course. What's also cool is that all ages are welcome, and it's also dog friendly. It's seriously a good time, and there's solid production value here. Support your local business here in the Denver area. Next up, there is nothing like ice skating in a mall around a Christmas tree, especially when you're just a block away from Coors Field. McGregor Square is Lodo's newest skating rink, open daily ever since November 28th. So over there at McGregor Square, I didn't mean that to rhyme, rent some skates on site, do some ice skating, and have some fun. It's right off Denver Union Station, so just drive to your closest RTD line and make the final destination Union Station. And right after you skate, you can even check out Rhino and a ton of restaurants and breweries Denver has to offer. And speaking of breweries, if you wanted to dive into the brewery scene here in Denver, I would highly recommend check out Denver Winter Brew Fest. Taste from a selection of over 80 beers, seltzers, and ciders from a variety of breweries. The festival will take place indoors and outdoors, and I say outdoors, but it's actually within a tent, at the Mile High Station, spreading out into the parking lot where there will be live music and food trucks. And have you seen the Mile High Station? It's actually pretty cool. It's a brick-faced building that previously was the Midwest Steel and Ironworks building. You can't get much more Denver than this event with all these beers on tap for you. So there is no shortage of things to do here in the wintertime in Denver and beyond. And if you're ever curious about this stuff or wanted to know my opinion on certain events, cool things to do, all my contact information is down below in the description, or just leave a comment down below and see what other people think. Crowdsource down there. This is for y'all. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. You all are true homies. I'll see you next week.